Hey guys, you should be able to hear me. I don't know why I look like a midget. Give me a second to figure that out. There we go. I think that's good. Okay. All right. Well, this is what we got. So this is this is what we got. So let's go with it. Let's put on these blue light glasses. Let's just start with the indexes. Make sure the music's off, and it is. Yay! All right. Let's start with the basics. So I think the best place to start is here. Obviously, you can see Sunday's bar, and you can see how we've opened, and then that was pretty much it. So I do think it's super interesting that you are in that 5 minute range. I also think it's very interesting that you are in that 1 minute range. So you haven't gone anywhere. You gapped up, and then you stopped. So I do think there's something to that. I really wouldn't, I don't know the right way to say it. I don't know that I would sleep on it. I do think it's like super interesting that this is what happened. And, I'm leaning towards, okay, like let's see how this goes. Like I do think that there's something to that, right? So I don't know, man. I don't know that you want to rush in here. I think you just might want to chill out a little bit, watch this like open, make sure that it goes. You got a lot of moving parts today, like a lot. You got different countries that are going to benefit greatly. And the retracement back to the previous close just for a retest, like that's no joke. You're looking at what? Down a good 80 basis points. So I would just be super careful there. Do I think that you could 100 retest? Yeah, 100% you could retest. Let's go back, just do the 15 real quick. Let's do the hourly real quick and just check it. So yeah, you could 100% retest. Most gaps get filled. So, I think it's great that we're bidding up. I'll take it. But I'm more, just to be blunt, I'm a net seller of it. I'm not out there buying with retail. That's for sure. I'm selling to them. What other name or what other area is important? I always think it's super important to mark off what happened with the event, which was the CPI, and just leave that as an area as well. And that definitely is there as well. But you are trading in a pretty interesting area. But I do think, I don't know that we're just going to, rally and everything's going to be kumbaya and everything's just going to be fantastic. That's not really where my head is at all with this. So, keep that in mind. And then we'll see how this plays. But in regards to anything else, let's look at the NQ. You're just grinding. So you want to watch how that goes. And I do think that's telling you a story, but man, do you want to be ahead of that? You want to be chasing this? I don't know that you do. Like, I definitely think there's a story there. Let's not do fibs inside of fibs, because then you guys will just like freak out. But I do think there's something to that. Yeah. I think that if you look at what the market's telling you, they're buying tech. They're either buying tech or biotech, right? Because if you look at what the market's telling you and you've retested it and you've held. So I think that's a very different story. And I think you're getting a little bit of tale of two tapes here, where people are starting to think I might be out of position for tech this week. And, they might be right. The question really would be like, where could you mark it to? And maybe we do have to look a little bit at like fibs and go, all right, well, where does that take you? Well, just off of this little one, I think that's super interesting, because if you measure that base from that breakout from last night, it took you right to that 168 or 1618. So it takes you to there. Then you go, all right, well, what's the second one? And I'm just measuring that little mini base. I'm not going nuts. But that takes you up to those levels. So if you're respecting the one, then that might be the second way to look at that target. And I do think that that's pertinent. And I do think that that is an area where, if you got up to there, you might want to pay attention to that, especially when you do something like that, right? And then you watch that base, and then you watch the first target actually hit and hold. So, what does that really get you? It gets you what, another 20 basis points? and then you're at like a second standard deviation move off that base, and you want to buy into that ahead of like, as long as you're nimble, I guess. But man, you got a lot of earnings coming out this week. So I wouldn't sleep on that like at all. I'd be really very cognizant of, pardon me, of what's going on, and realizing that we've just had a huge move, and then start thinking about like, how do we, like I came in pretty long. So to me, it's selling into it. And I'll show you like kind of where my head is. We'll see how this goes. I mean, right now it looks fantastic, right? It's really hard to like feel negative about it. But if I just go here, you just got to realize like you're at an 80 on the 4-hour. And like it doesn't mean that it can't keep going. Just to be clear, it's done it in the past. But it does mean like in a couple days, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? By Tuesday, oh, okay, you were weak. And then you kind of do it again. And you're like, all right, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday. Okay, we came in. So are you going to see something like that here? It's quite possible that when you get up in these areas, yeah, you do see some kind of pullback in these. The question is how much? I don't have an answer to that because I think that you have gap risk all weekend. I'm sorry, all week. I think you have gap risk literally all week. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I don't know how else you don't have gap risk. And the reason for that is just the earnings are going to be insane this week. And then you have the headline risk of Argentina, which we're going to cover in a minute. But we probably should go right into that now. But Argentina, this was just a blowout. So I was actually online last night and was fortunate enough to actually get this trade off. And I sold it this morning. I didn't get the whole thing off that I wanted, but I sold it this morning at like 87. And the whole reason that I did 86.95. And the whole reason that I did was this is where we closed and this is where you're at. So Argentina's up 18%. I mean, you have a stock market that's up 18% in a day. Shorts are really screwed here because there was like an 80% chance that he was going to lose lose the midterms. And not only did he not lose the midterms, but it was a sweeping mandate for what he's doing, which is the exact opposite of what just happened in Buenos Aires. So it's absolutely freaking huge. So what does this mean? I don't know that I want to be buying this stuff up 40%, but I'm just going to tell you like shorts really are going to have a really bad day. So I would just start going through all the old Argentinian names that we were trading before. If you've been following this channel for about a year, a little over a year, when we did those trades, we absolutely slaughtered it on them. And I think you're back to that. I just don't know if today you have to just, plow into a stock market that's up 20% in a day. And the reason for that is a lot of the short squeezes that are going to go on out there. And, that's really how I say it. So I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. Nothing will make me happier than Argentina to get back on track and just become a better trading partner. Now, whether that happens or not, we'll see. But from a stock trading perspective, this is like best case scenario for people that are long. So yeah, I mean, it's absolutely huge. I mean, it just solidifies that this is going to be pretty much, all octane for the next 2 years. So it's actually a really good thing from a stock perspective. So other than that, I don't know that I'd be running into them, but you want to start running through those names for sure. Hands down, you want to start running through those names. Man, it's just crazy. But I think that's important. Over the weekend, what else do you have? You have FXI. Looks like Besant hugged it out, didn't punch anybody, so that's good. We'll see how this goes. But China has they had a meeting in Kuala Lumpur, and they have a framework about sometime maybe having a framework, and that's going to lead to. I read that somewhere, and I'm laughing to myself, which probably means I need a life. But I think what's so interesting about it, from my perspective, is that it's very clear that Thursday is going to happen. And it's very clear that those guys want to come out there with some kind of victory. So I would imagine that your China names probably benefit from that. But I think you have massive gap up and gap down risk all weekend, like literally all weekend. And I think that that is definitely something to consider. For me, I am watching this stuff like an absolute hawk. That's your call wall on AMD. And you can see how you're reacting to that call wall, like kryptonite. 322 in the room. If everyone could hit the like button, that'd be great. That should be fantastic. Yeah, that's what you have to focus on, the bond market. We don't have anything else. I think Google's super interesting here. This is their first real quarter. I do own it. I think this is their first real quarter without them having to do or say anything, meaning this is their first real quarter where, how can I say this? The FTC was all over them, right? The FTC is not all over them anymore. So what does that mean? That means that they don't have to say, they don't have to do the whole golly gee, things are really tough out here routine. And I think that that's really important because I'm pretty sure that they were told to like downplay how fantastic things are going for them. So give me 1 second here, guys. This is bothering me. All done. So I think that they're done with that kind of, oh, geez, things are so hard. Oh, geez, it's so hard to be me. And then this is like the first time that the gloves are really off for a quarter of earnings where they're like, yeah, like we can actually show what we're doing now. Because after that, this is when the FTC, like if you really clean all this off, this is when the FTC, I can just clean it off for a sec, make it cleaner. That's when the FTC said, hey, you know, your penalty is, or the judge said, your penalty is, remember what you were doing for 5 years? Yet don't do that anymore. Like really don't do it this time. And then they said, okay. And you know, there's 4 years of trial for you. And now you can see what, you know, what that's going to transpire into. And I think that's super important. The stock never came back from that ever. And so, yeah, John, I really do. I like it a lot. The software side scares me. I'll just tell you why the software side scares me, because he wields it like a hammer, like, or a sword, I should say, right? Not a hammer, but you know, oh, you can't have access to software. Now you can have access to software. No more access for you. Like, do I really want to be involved in that? I mean, I did on Friday, that's for sure. I didn't do the trade, but yeah, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, I definitely wanted to be involved in it, especially crowd. Like, you know, up, breaks out, does the retest, tries again, fails, does the retest. I mean, how many opportunities did this thing give me? A lot. And I just, you know, didn't do them, but it's definitely there. So let's put that there. Do I have to do it now? I mean, I could see why somebody would be looking at this. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I mean, they've been dead right on this name. But I don't know, man. I'm not feeling software because the way the risk to it. It's the same way I feel about the risk, John, when you look at like a net and those names. It's the same way I feel about the risk with like basic materials. You know, like, oh, we need our own basic materials. We're going to invest in all these companies. We need basic, you know, rare earth. Then you come in and go like, China's not so bad. Come on, guys. And then, you know, you got a 6 handle in the morning. And so like all those names, all of a sudden it's going to be like, well, wait, what are we doing? I thought they were like, I thought we were in a trade war. Nah, they're not so bad. Come on, guys. So like, you have to realize that you're going to have to play the flow, ebbs and flows of this for the next, at least to midterms and probably past midterms. So you got 3.5 years of this. So as I try to tell people when they get like upset about this stuff, just settle in, ride the waves. That's all you can do with it. I feel that way about software. This is where all the cool kids are, that's for sure. RMBS, what do I think? I think it looks fantastic. I think you're coming into a pretty interesting quarter. I think if you look at last quarter, they had a really solid quarter, and they seem to have been making some kind of turn, right? And we can see that. And I think everyone was a little surprised by this. Do I need to get ahead of it? I don't know. I mean, that's on you. If you're feeling lucky, but when you look at that and you go through it, like you can see where, back in the day where you were, you're probably going to take that out because the earnings are like significant now. But your real true breakout, was right there. And you can see that on that day, like, boom, that was it. And then you were gone, man. Like you were over. And from there, you've just exploded. So, it is what it is when you see those kinds of moves. It's really hard to unsee them, when they break out like that. Those multi-year moves, when you break out over, you kind of want to pay attention to those. You don't really want to sleep on those. You just want to make sure that they close over, like that one closed over, so you're kind of using that. It's a wide stop, but man, if you catch them, they're huge. They're huge movers. So yeah, you've had this huge base. You broke out of your base. You formed a flag. It looks like you're going to break out of the flag. As long as you have good earnings, you're definitely there. I didn't think it was that great of a quarter. And to me, I thought this was a really super easy trade on Friday. And I thought it was a super easy trade on Thursday too. I mean, I think if you're not trading it, you're doing yourself a disservice. So when I look at something like this, give me a sec. When I look at something like this, and they moved everything again, on where the put walls and the call walls were, but I don't know, man. I think you're there. Like that's where your put wall is now. I'm just going through it. I don't know. I still think it should be down here. Just looking at it, I don't think you should really move it. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. I still think you're down here. I think that's where the real one is. Just by looking at it, doesn't matter. Anyway, I don't know, man. I don't know that I'd be rushing into this thing. So like we hit that, and it just you can see that level's enormous. So I'd probably be a net buyer if I got down to that. But other than that, I think buying into that we did very well with that trade. You rallied up. And now you're kind of, you're doing your thing, but I think you got to be super careful. Yeah, I think you got to be really, really careful here. I don't know that I'd be rushing into it. I don't know what the quarter was awful. The quarter was absolutely awful. More, we're going to do more stuff someday. Everything got pushed out. I said this when he showed that the cyber taxi. I said, you won't have any of these things up running this year. And everyone's like, no, he's going to have like 40 or 50. Now he's like first quarter 2026. And that's what he does. Like he does, it is what it is. I'm not going to knock it because I mean, he's got it going on. I mean, he knows what he's doing. But from my standpoint, like there's some real issues there. Everyone keeps talking about these robots are going to be performing surgery and doing that. I'll just take one right now that takes out the trash. So, or one that could walk without falling down. And that's like, I get selling the dream, but after a while, if you keep selling the dream and you don't deliver, it starts weighing when you sell the dream. It just does. And I think that that's super important to get. Like, how far out is all this stuff? To me, it seems pretty darn far. So, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that people aren't thinking about with the driverless cars, and it's going to be a utopia. And everyone's going to want a car because they're going to rent the car out until the car hits somebody. But then who's responsible? Or everyone's going to have a car. So then how much are they going to make on the car if everybody has one? What's a ride going to cost? 50 cents? The deflation of that. So I think there's a lot of moving parts to what he's trying to do that people aren't really thinking about. I think from a technical standpoint, like it's pretty obvious where your technical levels are. And I would just wait till I'm near them. But I don't think that this is going to be the one that people are going to really pay attention to this week, candidly. What's up, Julian? So rare earths will get smoked. Uranium will do well. I think you have to, all these names came in because of some key things, right? They all came in because of one, they're small cap names. So this is what small cap names do. Two, you have this big Blackstone deal that got done. So the way that I look at these names is they're probably all going to take out the highs, the wolves, and they're all going to wind up doing the same thing, right? IREN, all of them. I don't know that I have to chase them because usually there's sellers up in here that want to get out. So do I really need to be, chasing that stuff? And I don't really feel that I need to be chasing anything. So I think for me, the way that I look at it is let's just chill out. Let's see how they go. I don't want to chase a damn thing today. Like that's how I view it, but you should do what you're comfortable with. If I was in it and I caught it, cool, but I don't know that I have to chase it. The IBIT and where are we going with all this? I don't know. I mean, is that the one you have to buy? Do you have to buy that? Or I think someone was buying BITX, like the Bitcoin strategy one. I think this one was up like a lot, off of that. All right. Like, great. I'd be getting out. I wouldn't be getting in. I think that that's really what you're seeing here, but SMR, you're at these levels on some of these names where it does make sense to get involved with them, right? But maybe down here, maybe you can get up to like that 33. You seem to be holding that like a little bit, like in there. Maybe that area, like 33-ish, seems to hold. But do I got to be rushing into that stuff? I don't think so. Like, I definitely am not rushing into that here. That's for sure. Yeah, I think that we look good. I just think we're a little ahead of ourselves. I think so, but you have to think about like why is it cheap? You know what I mean? Like why is it cheap? Like, I'm getting smoked in this thing. So I'm not really like, I keep going through it going, like what am I missing? I do think that some of these names, yeah, like I would imagine some of these names are probably going to hold. You have seen something like AEO rush up, retest that 55, break it, break back over it. So I do think there's some names out there. Like if I could come back to, that 55, maybe I'll put an alert there. Maybe I'll get involved again. Maybe, but I don't know. You start looking at like Lulu, they're still out there selling $100 t-shirts to guys that work out. So whatever, man. I don't really think that's a huge market. And I think it's a big problem. I don't think it's like a good thing. I don't know. I don't know that that's the one. For me, I'd be watching Nike and seeing what they're doing there. Let's clean all that off. For me, I'd be watching Nike. I mean, they told you the consumers having problems. And, so did Starbucks. But I think Starbucks is having problems for different reasons. You get a very health conscious, especially new generation, like they're hardly drinking alcohol. So let alone having, a Frappuccino for $14. So I think there's more to that. And I think that that's where that's heading. So I don't know. I don't know about the consumer. I think you're going to find out more with CDNA this week. That's for sure. So I wrote this down. Like they're hard. It's getting harder to sell these loans. I've got all these different hedge walls in here, and every time I break down, and Chanos is like, oh, it's a pig, and they're going to have so many problems. He's usually net short, and then he has all these out of the money calls that actually make him make money when it rallies up. So like that's what people don't understand about the way he trades. It's not like he's just short. Like he'll short stock, and then he'll have like the whole delta up here, so that if he's wrong, he's actually making money on the long, even though he lost it on the short side. So that's how he stayed in business like forever. So I don't know. I'd watch CVNA. I mean, that if there's real problems, CVNA is going to be an issue. Happy Monday from Japan. Happy Monday from Miami. Yeah, I'm obviously very happy about how that played out. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to see the old regime come back into Argentina. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't live there, but I would think that nobody really wanted that. Everyone seemed pretty happy when he got in, but I don't know. He came up with a surplus, and then it seems like things went nuts. There's like a meme coin scandal, all kinds of weird stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, I think Japan is like really, you're very positioned there with the new prime minister. So I can't think of a scenario. I can't think of a scenario where that prime minister is not good for the stock market. I can't think of a scenario where it's not good for the stock market. I try to like, how is this bad? I just can't come up with a way that it's bad. Right. So that's kind of where my head is with it. I just don't know a way that could be construed as, as bad. Give me a second here. What are you doing? Okay, let's move my 14 glasses that I have sitting up on my desk. Okay, what are you doing? What you doing, big guy? Any volume behind that? This is why we can't have nice things. Just some non-believer, it looks like. Just some Philistine. All right, let's go. What else we got? I don't know, Jacob. I don't know, brother. I don't know how that's bad for that economy, like at all. Like, how is any of that bad for the economy, like at all, right? So I just don't see it. This is why you start touching stuff, and then this happens. Then it's a whole thing. So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to be bad. All right. Yeah, the VSCO, they're supposed to have that show. I didn't watch that show. I guess they're supposed to do the Victoria's Secret show. Maybe they already did it. You kind of ran right into that wall, but definitely, I mean, he's kind of like not the guy to screw around with. Like, he knows what he's doing about fixing a company like this. So, I mean, he knows how to run a company. So I wouldn't play around with him. That was my whole thought when he came back in and got sick of all the, the woke stuff that was happening in college, and he just kind of like lost it. I had a nice trade in that, like back here. Yeah, I mean, if there was like one guy I probably wouldn't bet against, it'd probably be this guy. You know, I get it. I don't know that I have to rush into it with the volume and everything else, but I do get it. Um, yeah, I don't really get the whole thing. Like, so you have earnings, right, coming out, and they just don't seem like they're going to be that great the way stock's acting. I tried to trade on it. I lost money. I got out of the way. Yeah, I mean, Sweet Greens is probably a zero. I mean, like Kava will someday be a zero, I think, too. Like, it's a matter of time. People are like, no, it can't possibly be. It's like, okay. Um, it's not a sustainable model. It just isn't. Like I make fun of it, like $14 for croutons and all that stuff, but it's just not sustainable. And people will look at it and say, well, what about like, you know, other companies? Well, what are the other companies? Like, oh, at Shake Shack? Okay, well, they make a burger. Like people eat burgers. Not everybody wants to go out there and buy like a $70 salad. Like they just don't. I don't know how to explain this to people. So it is what it is. People get like so into it, like it becomes their identity. Um, but there's a reason why it's starting to look like an absolute unequivocal dumpster fire. So I don't know where these things land, but of all the names that I'd go out there and try to figure out like where the bottoms are, it's definitely not going to be the world of salad restaurants. That's probably not going to be for me. As far as like Merck, Comcast is interesting because CMCSA, because I think he's going to go after some assets. They went after his company before, and Brian Roberts fought it off. I don't know. I don't know. Those guys that are born like that, they usually don't have all the umph in the world, but that's pretty nasty, man. Because the right shoulder is greater than the left. Like, see how developed that right shoulder is versus the left shoulder? It's pretty nasty if you break. You really don't want it higher, and you're not that much higher, but the development of it, yeah, if that breaks, that's pretty freaking ugly. So it's definitely an issue. I think it's huge that they did that secondary and the way that they did it. It held. I mean, I don't know if that's the one you have to get involved in, but I do like it. All those names I'm not going to be able to get through. I think that like the LEU, it's fascinating to me. Like this was so obvious a margin call, and you can see it. Like they smoked it, and then that was it. We actually had a decent trade in this. I blew it out 320, thought I was a genius. But you can see how it's acting now. I'm more interested in the other side of the trade. I'm more interested in the other side of that trade. So I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. You have to rush into these. I'd be careful. Like I own a lot of uranium, but I did it through this. Like I did a big levered trade into, well, not levered, but I did a big trade into this. And I'm fine with sitting with it, like letting it bop around, figuring out what it wants to do. But I don't know. I don't know that I'd be chasing these things. I think I'd be really careful about what I'm chasing today. Usually I'm early when I say this, by the way, guys. There's too many there for me to go through. This LTBR I know is a fan favorite. NMRA. I don't know anything about it. Like I literally know nothing about this name. I mean, very clear you have a seller. I mean, it's turned into a pig, hasn't it? So once it broke 10, that was it. It was done. Like it's a secondary. I had a trade in it. I made money. Clearly, it's really good for them. I think it's fascinating how great this stuff was for Ford and General Motors, and how these names just destroyed what's going on out there. Like, they are just crushing it under, the changes that the new admin made. But, which is great. I mean, he's made some promises to the companies, and they're benefiting greatly from it. I think it's more telling that it didn't benefit Tesla as much. You know, it makes me think about that a little bit. Like, I don't understand why it didn't benefit Tesla as much. I think it should have. But yeah, the changes that he made, I mean, the union's got to be happy. I would think. But what do you do with it? I'm not one that's been a big trader of this name. I have a hard time with these companies. But I mean, if you look at this, it's pretty darn obvious that the changes that they made are like exploding these kinds of companies. So yeah, I mean, I would think that the pension funds and the unions and everybody are like thrilled. But what's that mean for the stock? You start looking at this stuff. Let's go back to it. You start looking at where you were, like back in the day in 22. That's a complete, utter technical breakout of a cup and handle. I mean, here, I'm a little teapot. I mean, you say it. So I don't know, man. I mean, I made like $2 and I was like a genius, 65 to 67. I don't know. I don't know what you do with it. I would keep moving the stop up, and I don't think it's done. And I'll tell you why I don't think it's done. Because I think people are going to start looking for places to put money. I think Europe and Asia are going to start coming back into the market if the dollar stabilizes. I don't need the dollar to go up, but a stabilized dollar, and if they can buy in the industrial world, I mean, think about the good will you get in saying, oh, I'm buying American car companies. And it makes a ton of sense because the changes the admin made are absolutely screwing Europe. And they're getting killed. Like, Stellantis is getting killed. Porsche is getting killed. Like, they are getting slaughtered, not only by the US, but by China, and letting China cars in the way that they did it. Like, and also the problem that they're running into is these mandates for electrical vehicles. So like, Italy pays Stellantis to make cars that nobody is driving and buying because they want to employ the workers. Like, it's not sustainable. I understand why they're doing it, but it's just not a sustainable model. When you're paying somebody to do something, to incentivize them, it works if it's, then you get the demand behind it. If you don't have the demand, that's where it becomes a problem. And that's the problem these guys are running into. That's why they're all backing off of it. Even BMW's, like, with the electrical car, they're backing off of it, saying, hey, we fixed the hydrogen engine. Like, if you look at BMW, they're coming out and saying, we're looking at hydrogen engines now. And I think that's where all this stuff's going to go. I think it's going to go a completely different way. They're going to get away from electric. They're going to have to, because people don't want them. Or if they do want them, the demand's not there because the infrastructure's not there. Let's say it that way. Or they'd want them if they could drive them and they didn't have to worry about charging them in their homes, right? So like, I think that they might want them if they were easier to use. And then I think a lot of people also looking at that stuff and going, I really own a car that I'm driving a coal car. Like, they start understanding where it's coming from. Not everyone has solar panels on the house to drive that electric. So then it goes back to, why would GM do so well? Because the amount of tariffs that are coming into the country on the European cars, and people are getting away, from electric, and maybe they're going to the hybrids, right? So they're a more level playing field. How sustainable is that? Does it go on for a long time? Probably, yeah. I'll tell you what long it goes on for. It goes on for midterms. So, yeah, I mean, reach out to the concierge, dude. I don't know what you want me to do. I mean, if the concierge reached out to you, then it's great. I don't know. I don't handle what the concierge does, and then he reaches out to me. I saw someone talking about this today. OSTK. OSK. They are US and I don't know. I mean, do you really want to get involved before this? What just happened to me here? All right. Good morning from San Francisco. Good morning from Germany. Good morning from Miami. Yeah, there are those Rayas, the blue light glasses. They do help. I stare at screens all day long, dude. My eyes have gone to crap lately. What's up, brother? You know, the IBM makes perfect sense. I'm actually a little more concerned about this, to be honest. I'm looking at this trade and I'm more concerned. Pourquoi, you say, which is why in Spanish. I'll explain it because I'm not getting the left. So there was this other white paper that was supposed to come out, and I don't know if it came out. And let me be really clear. Even if it came out and I tried to read it, I have no idea what I'm reading. Like I can get up to speed to a certain extent, but I have no idea what I'm reading. Why am I hunched over? And why is this happening? All right, let's go. Let's go up here. Let's get this going. So that's better. I'll figure out the camera angle later. It's killing my back. I'm trying to figure out why I'm having follow through in the quantum and semi space. Like this is what I'm trying to do while we're talking. I'll just tell you where my head is. Why are my quantum names rallying and my memory names rallying? And this thing's standing there. It makes me think that I'm about to get smoked in my quantum names. Not fake quantum. Fake quantum's going to come in again, but that's pretty much it. Guys, I got to jump. I'm going to go through this. Thanks, Alvin. Appreciate that. I'm not going to have time to go through all this, guys. I got to jump. I got to get on this. NVIDIA's fine, but I don't know that you're going anywhere with it. I think there's some retail names that are worth looking at. People seem to like that a lot. Large banks are very interesting right now. Hood, I don't have time. I think you're overbought still, to say the least. I got to jump, guys. So, well, I wish you best, Vic, but you know, there's something called reality. All right, guys, have a great day. Make good choices.